Every year in your fantasy drafts, you stumble across a handful of players and ask yourself, is this player worth the risk of drafting? That's exactly what we are asking today with 7 different players in your fantasy football drafts this year. Are you scared to compete, or is it actually the right decision to pass on? And the caveat with this, fellas, is that we're going to debate 7 different players, but we have to land on one side of the fence or the other. There's no fence sitting here in this episode. It's either yes, I'm willing to take the risk, or no, I'm not willing to take the risk. And who better to start with than probably the poster child for this episode, Christian McCaffery, running back, San Francisco 49ers. Cam, you have him RB2, Tyler, RB1, running back 4 for me. We spent a little bit of time on him in our running back rankings. And Cameron, since you weren't on that episode, I'm going to start with you. Christian McCaffery, worth the risk, yes or no?
Yeah, I think he definitely is. I understand he burned you for 2 years in a row. Then he finally got you back on the train with 2 top 2 finishes. And then last year was just like the headache of all headaches because you were just being told, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Then he came back and then it was a different injury. So I understand. However, he has finished running back 2, running back 1, running back 2, running back 1 in his last 4 healthy seasons. That's what he does. All reports out of camp right now. I understand. It's San Francisco 49ers camp. I understand. But all reports are he looks as healthy as he has. He looks fast. He looks good. As long as he's healthy, he's a top 2 running back. I'm banking on him being healthy again. It sounds like the Achilles tendonitis is, he's getting past that. The PCL is not going to drag over into this season. I think it's worth it because I think at the running back 4 currently where he's going, you could get the best player in fantasy football this season.
As long as he's healthy. As long as he's healthy. As long, like that's that you could put that at the end of every sentence for Christian McCaffery, yes. And it's a valid sentence. Like you're not overreacting to that reality. Ty, people took, I'll say offense to your comment when we talked about our running back rankings and tiers episode that you said I have Christian McCaffery at 1, and frankly, I'm not going to draft scared. I would draft him as the RB1. Are you still backing that up after that video?
Yes.
Not to put you on the spot and like set your feet to the fire or anything, but a lot of people had some problems with that.
So I can understand where it gets kind of taken out of context or misunderstood in the way that I was explaining. Running back 1 overall, I'm personally okay taking him as early as I would pick in the first round. But he currently goes like in the second round of your home leagues. Like if you're on the turn, like to me, it's pretty easy. I was telling Cam on our mock draft live stream when the two paths for McCaffery this year are winning your league or losing your league. I'm okay taking the risk because I know the payoff is so substantial. It would be a different story if it was just returning value or that he would be a top 5 guy. But when the payoff is winning your league, I'm okay taking that chance.
The thing that you'll notice for me throughout the course of this episode, the similar thread that I'm going to follow along on is, can this player give me enough potential league winning upside that it's worth taking the risk on them? Christian McCaffery, you have a lock, top 3 at the position, should he play the entire season. You have Brandon Ayuk, who's on the pup, probably going to miss, my guess would be at least 6 games. Ricky Pearsall also on the pop. Juwan Jennings back in practice, sure, but like you could have a stronger wide receiver 1 for your team. George Kittle will be there, but this offense is still going to have to chug through Christian McCaffery. As much as we maybe want to think Kyle Shanahan is going to pull the reins back on McCaffery to preserve his health, dog, you only got 1-2 more years with Christian McCaffery. Why would you lighten the workload now for him? So when I can draft a guy who has the RB1 overall potential, that's worth the risk to me. The price in your home leagues is substantially different than on Underdog. As you pointed out, Ty, like I'm in sleeper mock drafts and I'm like, how am I getting Christian McCaffery in the like middle, early second round? That seems a little bit ludicrous to me when he's going as a top 8 pick in contests that you're playing for millions of dollars over on Underdog. There's a cost discrepancy here. One, you're playing to win. You're not drafting scared. You're willing to compete. The other one is like, oof. I don't know. I don't want to take that chance. I don't blame anybody who doesn't want to take that
I was
risk.
going to say,
I don't
at this
blame
point,
anybody.
blame you.
Yes. That's the most important caveat we have not mentioned. I do not blame anybody. 7th overall, though, right after Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. Fair game for me. If I'm drafting a player who could be number 1 overall at their position, number 1 overall in fantasy this year at that point, I'm sorry, I'm taking the swing and I'm doing that. So it's a yes from me. It's a yes from Cameron, Ty, and it's a yes from you.
It's a yes for me.
We'll move on, but before we do, it's free to subscribe and like this video. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not going to play this 88% game with you all anymore. It's free to like and subscribe to this channel. If you love fantasy football just as much as we do, if you want to beat your friends just as much as we do, we would appreciate your support by hitting that subscribe button and turning on the notification bell as well. So you'll be alerted when all of our newest episodes are out. Our goal, yes, to provide you all of our fantasy football insights, but remind you of the fun and camaraderie that comes with the game we all love. We know it can get tense in your league sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're playing a fake sport with each other because we love the game. We want to have fun enjoying it. So we hope you join us for our ride, our journey as we create fantasy football content for you all. We're going in ADP order here, fellas. We started at the top of Christian McCaffery. Tyreek Hill over on Underdog Drafts goes in the late 2nd round, currently goes as the wide receiver 12. Per all the comments in our videos, Tyreek Hill is washed. He's not going to get the ball this year because they want to throw closer to the line of scrimmage. They're basically tossing in the towel on Tyreek Hill after one abysmal year last year, one abysmal year for the Miami Dolphins last year. And they want nothing to do with him. Wide receiver 12 is far too early, far too risky. Ty, I'll start with you this time. Do you agree with those sentiments?
I know we said no fence sitting, so I do need to be
no fence sitting. No,
here.
No fence sitting.
I would side with that crowd. I'm out, surprisingly.
Okay.
I'm starting to believe more and more. People saying that Tyreek is washed, I think is just kind of the lazy argument here. When in actuality, it's a slow decline, and that's what we were starting to see last year. I can't overlook the fact that, according to PFF, he had a lower separation rate in single coverage and a higher contested target rate. So for a guy that was constantly getting open, wasn't doing it at the same clip as he was last year, I still think there's a good player here with Tyreek, but for the wide receiver 12 price tag, I'm not exactly sure I'm going to get a top 12 finish out of Tyreek Hill. Maybe it's closer to 15, but I know that there are wide receivers that are going after Tyreek that do kind of have that same kind of upside as he does, that can be top 15 guys and maybe even push for the top 12. So he's still a good player. I just think he's a bit overpriced. So I'm out on the risk with Tyreek Hill.
I appreciated that you started with the comments of Tyreek Hill is washed. I don't believe he's washed. That is such a lazy blanket statement to just have an excuse to not draft Tyreek Hill. That being said, I'm kind of with you. I know originally I'm like, you know what? Tyreek Hill does have this incredible upside. What if he does turn back the clock one more year? But you are asking him to turn back the clock quite a few years at this point in his career. Before I give my final thoughts, Cameron, what say you? Are you willing to take the plunge on Tyreek?
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty simple for me to take the plunge there. I do not think he is washed. Last season with Tua, he averaged 5 receptions for 63 yards and half a touchdown, which is, 12 and a half fantasy points per game, which isn't great, but we're still talking about a guy who, it's about 17th in points per game last year on a down year. And the other thing too is if Tyreek's washed, then Jalen Waddle's washed, because every stat Tyreek had, Jalen Waddle was considerably worse than. Tyreek 38th in target share, Jalen Waddle 57th last year. Tyreek 29th in routes run, Jalen Waddle 39th. 50th or 38th in yards per route run for Tyreek, 59th for Jalen Waddle. Like, it was just such a down year for both of these guys. And in 2023, Tyreek Hill, had 1,700 yards for the second season in a row, almost 1,800. He had 13 receiving touchdowns, 171 targets, 119 receptions. Like, I just don't believe that it just disappeared. I don't think
Yeah.
it's gone. I think he's still there. I think the wrist injury played a factor. I mean, he looked checked out on the field. I think that was a bigger part of it, is that, and you heard it in the comments after the season of like, he's like, I'm out, because the Dolphins were just so abysmal when Tua was gone. Again, if you're so scared that Tua's not going to play because of all the concussion stuff, like maybe there's an argument there. But I think we're looking at the guy who's wide receiver 12, who's probably going to finish closer to wide receiver 7, wide receiver 6 this season.
So I also think you bring up a valid point there of maybe Tyreek Hill in Washington. The Dolphins were just stupidly bad last year. And the reports are saying, yeah, Mike McDaniel wants to get the ball out of Tua's hands quicker, which means you're moving the ball closer to the line of scrimmage then, because you can't get the ball out of his hands quicker if you're taking downfield shots playing, too high shell. If Mike McDaniel is truly a good head coach, he's going to alter Tyreek Hill to fit the narrative of the offense that he wants to run. So what we could get with Tyreek Hill is, sure, lower ADOT, lower yards per reception. What if we get higher efficiency, higher yards after the catch, higher amount of receptions? What if we just PPR our way to a wide receiver 12, wide receiver 10? You're saying, Cameron, a wide receiver 8 finish. If Mike McDaniel is a good head coach, he's going to fit his star player into the narrative to make sure the football gets into his hands. So in one sense, I don't think Tyreek is washed. In the other sense, I still think he provides value at wide receiver 12. I question how much value that is. So purely, I think for Ty's reason, so I'm not a fence sitter here trying to play middle of both sides here. I am leaning towards I'm not willing to take that risk, because what if after last year the Dolphins offense just falls rock bottom again, like we saw last year? That's the part that scares me, is that we could potentially get that again if Tua does miss any time. Again, and if based on health, but man, there's just it's a lot of injury bug that kind of floats around this team, and I don't necessarily like that. So I'm going to side with Ty. Cam, you're willing to take the plunge here? Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I just think, wide receiver 2, wide receiver. I think he has that upside still. I still think he can be a top 3 wide receiver, because I think it's more dependent on Tua's play than his play. So as long as Tua's healthy, yeah, I think he can be a top 3 wide receiver.
Which, to each their own. Let us know down in the comments what you're thinking about Tyreek Hill on that. I didn't mean for that to be dismissive. Sorry, but like that's how I.
Well, you're an idiot.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. I ignored everything you just said. That made no sense. No, let us know down in the comments what you think about Tyreek Hill, because Cameron, I do think there's a lot of merit to what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, if Tyreek Hill finishes as wide receiver 5 this year, my jaw's not gonna be on the floor. Like, hey, you know what? That's higher than I expected, but I'm not going to be shocked either, because we know that's within Tyreek Hill's arsenal in an explosive offense that the Miami Dolphins could produce. A little bit further down the board, another running back I want to talk about, fellas. Breece Hall, running back for the New York Jets. It was a terrible year last year. When you took Breece Hall as the RB2, it was debatably one of the worst picks you could have made in fantasy football this year. Now goes off the board as the running back 12. This is the one, if I were able to sit on the fence for any of these players, I think it would be Breece Hall.
Agreed.
I'm going to get off the fence, but Cameron, I want to hear your thoughts first, because Breece Hall has been your guy in the past.
Yeah. So, we are just going right through my dynasty league and my dynasty team in our home league.
We are.
CMC, Tyreek, Breece. The next guy I did trade away, so but he was on my team as well. Breece,
you've won 2 championships out of it. Let's start with that. These players with upside win you your leagues. It's a matter of knowing when to hold on to them, when to not, when to invest, when to not.
And I will say, won the championship last year, even with Christian McCaffery on the squad. So hey, it is possible to be able to do it, even if Christian. But okay, that was a bad argument for drafting Christian McCaffery. But
in a dynasty league, not redraft.
But I will say, Breece, I am in on, and the reason is I understand the upside of Breece because we've seen it before. I think he's finally going to be healthy. He is in a contract year. He has said that multiple times, like, don't think I'm coming back to this squad. And as a running back going on your second contract, unless you're coming off a monstrous year, getting a decent second contract is just, it just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, even guys who are coming off great years, I mean, like James Cook coming off a phenomenal year. It doesn't sound like he's going to have a contract, that he really wants anytime soon. So I think for Breece, I think that's a motivating factor. Justin Fields, I lost the stat. Has a surprisingly high checkdown rate.
7th checkdown rate. Yes.
Exactly. For a guy who runs as much as he did.
Yes.
So
I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
I do think that the narrative that he's not going to get the receiving work anymore, I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I think it's going to be closer to what we saw last year than what we saw 2 seasons ago when he was running back 2 and had, 98 targets and 76 receptions. I don't think we get that. The issue for Breece, to me, is just going to come down to touchdowns. Can he hit double-digit touchdowns? Can he not? I think he's probably going to flirt with it, but that would be the only concern. I think he's talented enough. For me, he kind of feels like Jonathan Taylor-esque with less rushing upside, a little more receiving upside, just in terms of like the teams they're in right now. Although he's going to obviously be splitting a lot more time than Jonathan Taylor will too. But if he can hit 225 carries, I think he can be I think he's a top 10 back this season, which I think he can do on this team.
You add Armand Menbu to this offensive line as well, bolster that down a little bit more. Ty, the question I'll pose to you is maybe a little bit more direct than I want to ask a question. You're laughing as if I'm like trying to like single you out on something. That's not it.
Why do you hate Breece Hall?
Yeah. Why do you think he stinks when you have him ranked higher than me right now? and this is the thing that I'm asking myself about Breece Hall, though. Do I actually have him statted out for enough targets, enough receptions this year? I only have him at 70, and I think I'm too low. And the question I'm asking myself because of that is, look, could we get a Devon Achane season from him last year where he's second in the league in running back targets, kind of pass catches his way to a top 7 finish at the position? Like, is that within his range? But like, is that probably the way he gets it done this season?
It probably will have to be, because Cam brought up like the rushing touchdowns probably won't be there. I'm expecting the rushing volume to stay kind of relatively the same as what we've seen the past couple of years, just because you do have a Justin Fields quarterback at quarterback now. Braylon Allen, I'm expecting to be more involved in the short yardage stuff. So that's just going to naturally kind of keep the rushing volume either where it is. I wouldn't say it's going to go any lower. So your hope is that the receiving volume it goes up essentially. And I thought about this question as I was kind of prepping for this. I was like, is there a world where Breece can be the number 2 guy in targets by season's end?
Right.
There's a chance. I can't deny
on the
that.
Jets, correct?
On the yes, yeah.
So, I just want to make sure you weren't talking all of fantasy, but like, yes, on the Jets specifically.
On the Jets specifically. I think the best way that I can put Breece is that the 30% target rate that we got in 2023 when he was running back 6 in points per game to the 22% target rate that we got last year where he was running back 18 in points per game. We're probably going to be somewhere right in the middle. We're going to be somewhere right between that. And I think it's oversimplifying it just to be like running back 6 and running back 18. So right in the middle is running back 12.
Yeah, right.
But I do just kind of, when I think Breece Hall, running back 12 on best ball, running back 14 in your home leagues, I just kind of find myself going like, I feel like I'm taking him out of stealing here at running back 12. Just because let's just say this Jets offense is still pretty unpredictable. We don't know how they will perform. Yes, they're getting the upgrade in system, but that may not translate into production right away. So the nail in the coffin then for me is just that you look at running backs that go right after Breece Hall, like at least in your home leagues, Alvin Kamara, Omarion Hampton, Ken Walker, Chuba Hubbard. I'm just going like, I think I'd rather take those guys just because I think they have similar upsides or similar chances of finishing than, and they're going later than Breece Hall. So
how much later? I want to contextualize that though, because when you say like right after, like, is that like they go 4 or 5 picks after, like that run starts 4 or 5 picks after Breece Hall, or does it start a full round after Breece Hall? Because that's a different conversation.
True. Breece Hall goes at pick 35 over on Sleeper. Alvin Kamara goes at 43. Hampton goes at 44. Ken Walker goes at 45. And Hubbard and Chuba goes at 47. So
yes, you are talking a full round.
Essentially a full round later.
Which that's a decision you're going to have to make, because at the same time, those players aren't going to loop back to you either. You would have to get 20 picks after ADP in order to get any of those guys after Breece Hall. Just contextualizing that for the people. But I'm also going to disagree and say that running back 12 is Breece's ceiling this year. I think like RB5 is probably his ceiling this year. Because if he can, I want to go back to my Devon Achane comment. People might think I'm like a little bit loony for saying that out loud, but like here's Devon Achane's stat line last year: 203 carries for 907 yards, averaged 4.5 yards per carry. He caught 78 of 87 passes for 592 yards, caught 6 touchdowns. Averaged 15.3 fantasy points per game, was a running back 6 on the season in half PPR formats. I think that is dependent on Breece Hall catching touchdowns this year. But at the same time, if it's Garrett Ty, you said it. Could Breece Hall be second on this team in targets come year's end? Who else is it going to be? Mason Taylor's a rookie tight end. He's going to be figuring it out in the NFL. Who is the wide receiver? You've got Alan Lazard. You've got Josh Reynolds. You've got Malachi Corley. It's like, who else are you throwing the football to on this team if it's not Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall? So I'm to maybe like put the stamp on like this is where I land. I'm in on Breece Hall. I'm willing to take the plunge on Breece Hall here, because I do think he might have one more year to give you that top 5 within his range of outcomes. Cameron, yes, Breece Hall?
Yes, definitely Breece Hall.
And Ty, you lean no.
I may know, because again, we are not fence sitting here. So for
right.
the sake of the episode, I may know.
Yes, right. Like I said, if I were to fence sit on one player in this episode, it would be Breece Hall, because I do feel torn, but I'm going to side on. I think he can probably give us one more season, and it would come through the passing game, and that's what I'm banking on, because I know Justin Fields can check down to the running back position. You can draft all these players right now. Look, if you want to take the plunge on McCaffery, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall over on Underdog, you can do that for millions of dollars in prizes this summer. Excuse me. We'll take a quick break. Hear how you can do so. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, home of Best Ball Mania 6. There are $15 million in prizes up for grabs, with $2 million going to first place and another $1 million going to second place. Entering is super easy. You join a draft with 11 other people, select your team, and Underdog will automatically generate your highest scoring lineup each week. Essentially, you get all the fun of drafting with zero stress of making the wrong decision on who to start. Underdog hosts a variety of other contests as well, ranging from $3 entries to $500 entries, so there's something for everybody's pocketbook. If you're not on Underdog yet, use the code FELLAS when you sign up, because they'll give you up to $1,000 in bonus credits to play with, and we'll give you our 2025 draft guide for free. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show. Alrighty, fellas, let's keep cruising along. We've covered Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall. We're moving on to Mr. Jameson Williams of the Detroit Lions. People are saying this Lions offense is going to regress, but hold on. Jameson Williams could have a monster year after what he did last year. He could build even more on last year, but wait. The Lions offense might regress a little bit. To me, that has to come at the cost of somebody. Cameron, I'll start with you, because you put in our group chat earlier today, I need to stop watching Jameson Williams clips because I'm getting hot and bothered. I'm starting to get the fever for Jameson Williams here.
Yeah.
Are you in?
I was really hoping you guys would go first so you could talk me out of it, because I know you're going to.
I might end up doing it. I'll spoil my opinion now. I'm out. If I choose a side, I'm not willing to.
But it's for me, it's the fact. I mean, last season he only had 91 targets. Obviously, it's not going to come. That 17.3 yards per reception is not sustainable. I don't think he's going to necessarily have 7 touchdowns again on 58 receptions, just partly because I don't think Jared Goff's going to throw almost 40 touchdowns again.
Right.
The argument I started to make is, what if it comes at the detriment of the fact that they were third in rush attempts? What if instead of rushing 530 times, they go back and run 500 times, which would still be top 7, or they go back to what they were in 2022 and run 480 times, which would be another 50 targets if they obviously kept up the same pace, which, again, could be an argument of why that wouldn't quite correlate 1-to-1, which is what they had in 2022, which is still have them top 10 in rush attempts. So that's kind of where it comes from me. It is like, if I could sit on the fence for one of them, it'd be Jameson Williams. That's where I'm at right now, because I see the upside, and I really like Jameson Williams. I kind of got out a little bit, but since he was, obviously he got hurt, so that's why he slid a little more in the draft, and he had the gambling thing. But everything he's put on the field since is like, okay, this dude's figuring it out. He's coming back. He's showing what we saw at Alabama. And man, he could be the most talented high upside wide receiver on this team. I think Amon-Ra is still the best wide receiver, but I do think upside wise, that might be.
I thought you were going to go all the way with. I thought you were going to go all the way with that statement.
You were trying to say he's the most dynamic.
Dynamic. There it is.
Yes, that's what you were trying to say. I'm like,
most dynamic wide receiver.
Oh, I hope you're not trying to make this argument. But no. Dynamic makes sense.
Most dynamic wide receiver. He's not. That's the issue too, because he's not even the most dynamic player. Because Jahmyr Gibbs might be the most dynamic player in the entire league. So I don't know. I'm just talking in circles right now because I'm trying to convince myself to go one way or another, and I can't decide. But I think I'm willing to take the bet on Jameson Williams at wide receiver 25. I think he has the upside. The only issue is I just don't know how good the upside is. Like, I don't know if I could get myself to say he could be fringe wide receiver 1, right? If everything went perfect, I just don't think I could get there. But I think he could be wide receiver 17. I think he could be, return 8 spots on ADP. So that's where I'm at. So I'm going to say I'm in on Jameson Williams, but as you can tell, it's not with full conviction.
Here's my counter punch. I really do believe a tiger doesn't change its stripes. A tiger can may be flexible, but when Dan Campbell came in, took over the Detroit Lions and says, I want to absolutely maul people in the trenches. We are going to be biting kneecaps off of teams. He took that to heart. And I think that's led to a truly balanced offense like mentality, even though Dan Campbell isn't the offensive coordinator. Like, he has a say over what John Morton is going to do. And basically said, Ben, this is what I want. You get the freedom to do whatever the heck you want with it. You can have fun with it, but I want you to set up a game plan for success every week. And we've seen this Lions offense just become more of a balanced team. And I don't see this being a dramatic shift back to them being a more pass-heavy team. I still think they're probably going to be balanced. Do they throw a few more times this year? Yeah, that's how I have it. But I just think if this offense is supposed to regress, yet people still think Amon-Ra St. Brown can be a top 5 fantasy wide receiver. People still think Sam Laporta can be a top 5 fantasy tight end. And people think Jameson Williams can be a borderline top 20 wide receiver. Something has to give here if this offense is going to regress. And if Jared Goff doesn't throw 40 touchdowns this year, who's scoring the fantasy points then? Like, I'm struggling to see if everything is supposed to regress. This one dude, though, oh man, this guy could be the limit. Where do you stand, Ty? Because that's where I'm at. I could maybe look like a fool for this, and someone could just come at me in the comments and prove me totally wrong. I'm open to being wrong on this, but I don't understand when the consensus is, yeah, the Lions won't be as good this year. But you know what? This Jameson Williams guy, though, as the 2.5 passing option, third passing, if you want to get Jahmyr Gibbs involved here too, on this team, to the moon this year. Something isn't computing there for me.
So I find myself closer to Cam on the
really.
I'm on the inside of this argument, but I am not going to the extreme of the breakout JMO year because again, the regression of this offense does kind of limit the breakout ability or opportunity that really all of these players have in this offense outside of Gibbs and Amon-Ra because they've already done it. But the guy was a wide receiver 20 points per game on 91 targets, like Cam said. So you can make the argument that he doesn't need a lot of targets because the game is efficiency. But I also find myself on the fence when I say, well, if he is going to take a step forward, he is going to take some targets. He's going to get more targets. Does that mean less like designed work? He did have 11 carries last year, so are we going to get less kind of trick plays that involve Jameson Williams? Certainly possible. I do ultimately think, though, that it does come mainly at the detriment of the run game. Not to say that like this run game is completely, is completely regressing, but to the tune of 500 carries is probably more realistic. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be in such favorable game scripts this year where they decide to keep running the ball. Now, Lucas, you brought up the perfect counterpoint to that of it's Dan Campbell. This is how he likes his offenses to play. I totally get that. At the end of the day, I just find myself going, okay, Jameson Williams on what I'm still expecting to be a really good offense. Maybe not the top offense, but still a top 5, top 7 offense. I can swallow the lack of volume with Jameson Williams because I know that his game is efficiency. It's not volume.
I will say with his ADP coming down over on Underdog, he was at one point going as a wide receiver 21, and I just like couldn't stomach that whatsoever. Now that he's down to the wide receiver 25, he's starting to get in this range where I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? I don't really want to take a shot on DJ Moore. I don't really want to take a shot on DK, or I'm okay mixing up my shares between DK Metcalf and JMO. I think I would prefer it. I would still prefer like George Pickens and Courtland Sutton to JMO. It's when you get to that Waddle, Zay Flowers range where I'm like, yeah, that's where I'm taking JMO instead of some of those guys. So the ADP is getting closer. It's not computing in my head perfectly as to where we see this leap for JMO when the offense is going to regress. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a superstar. Like something has to give at some point. I just think it's JMO when Amon-Ra St. Brown is the clear number one in this offense. Jahmyr Gibbs is the clear first option in the run game for them. And then you basically got a dogfight between Sam Laporta, JMO, and I'll throw Jahmyr Gibbs in there again for targets, right? So if John Moore can scheme up efficient manufactured looks for Jameson Williams like Ben Johnson was able to do last year and on these efficient crossing routes, we might be in business with JMO. I'm not pushing the cart ahead of the horse here. That's what I'm
You'd rather see it happen first.
Yeah, I would when I've seen it happen with Courtland Sutton, when I think the Dallas Cowboys are just going to be an absolute air raid again this year with George Pickens running down the sideline and how he's been tearing up training camp. I just prefer that to an offense that we're all projecting to regress, but somehow everybody is taking a step forward. So just putting 2 and 2 together there in my mind. If Christian McCaffrey is the poster child for this episode, it is Travis Hunter. Because, oh boy, people want to, in my opinion, make a lot out of nothing right now. We got a first taste of how the Jaguars have split Travis Hunter's snaps on offense and defense during training camp. I believe it was something to the tune of like 39 snaps on offense and 47 snaps on defense in their first practice. That's a bunch of nothing to me. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Because as much as we're trying to figure out the splits for Travis Hunter, so are the Jaguars. Okay, they're trying to figure out what's the balance of offense versus defense that we can play him on. But hey, you know what? It might not matter because according to everybody in the Jaguars organization, the dude doesn't get tired. And I'm just going to keep playing that meme because I find it hilarious. I was just like, nope, doesn't get tired. Doesn't get tired. He's a beast. He doesn't get tired. This isn't easy. I'm so in on Travis Hunter. And it's rather simple. I would rather bet and be wrong on a generationally unique talent than I would rooting against a player and then saying, okay, yeah, he's actually really freaking good at football. I just think Travis Hunter is really freaking good at football. And I would rather bet on that and be wrong trying to be right that he's a good player than be wrong and he's actually a really freaking good football player. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like this isn't a hard one for me. Travis Hunter is just a special breed. And those are the kind of guys where I'm like, I don't care. I'm in. I'd rather be wrong if he ends up flopping.
My question is, what's the the upside, the max upside? And I'm asking you genuinely, like you think Travis Hunter could hit
Top 20.
Like 18?
Yeah.
Or like 12?
No, I don't think he gets all the way up to 12. Right. I like peak is like 15. And that's when everything falls right. But like if he were to finish wide receiver 19 if he had a Jameson Williams type season, wide receiver 20 points per game last year, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
So
I know that requires 17.3 yards per reception. I
Yeah.
don't see that happening, but like 12.3 fantasy points per game, I think that's within his range of outcomes.
I think he feels like Jaden Reed this year. That's personally how I think.
Oh, not you too. Oh,
I'm just saying. I'm seeing a guy who is going to be very talented, who is going to be electric with the ball in his hands, and is just not going to have quite enough snaps or opportunities where you feel like fully fulfilled with him. And he's a mid-20s guy. So I still think he can outperform ADP. I still think he can be very good. I still think he's going to be fun to watch. My concern is that, especially his rookie year, playing defense is just going to cap him enough where wide receiver 24 kind of feels like a ceiling to me. And I understand maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but that is where I land with Travis Hunter. That's how I see him. I think probably wide receiver 24, 26 is his ceiling this season. So I'm going to say from the aspect of him booming, I'm out, but I am in on him. Like, I think he's an all right draft pick at ADP. But if I had to pick like a,
I was going to say, because this is the definition of fence
Yes.
sitting. Yes, I'm in on some points, but I'm out on some
if
others.
I have to pick, I'm going to say I am out on Travis Hunter.
I loathe the fact that you just compared Travis Hunter to Jaden Reed. I loathe that. I
Not
get
from
it.
talent, but from usage.
Yes.
Hey, but like if you're going to make the usage perspective, like that is the counterpoint. That is
what I'm saying is the usage,
that is
and it feels like it should be better than it is when you watch him with the ball in his hands.
Travis Hunter is just better than Jaden Reed. That case in point for me. I don't care if the usage is the same. Travis Hunter is just better than Jaden Reed. And I know you can get Jaden Reed on a few deep balls and he can give you that top, 20, 30 production on a given week. Sure, absolutely. You don't trade up from 5, give up your first round pick next year to go get Travis Hunter and not make this offense better and make sure he's a key part of it. Jaden Reed is not a key part of the Green Bay Packers offense. Not let me rephrase that. Jaden Reed isn't as big of a part of the Green Bay Packers offense as he probably should be. I'm saying if you're going to go out and move up from 5 to 2 and give up a first next year to go do that, golly, you better make sure this guy's involved on offense and you're not just doing it to play him on the defensive side of the ball. I'm in. Cam, I understand you're out from that perspective. I completely understand it. Ty, I'll let you maybe bring this point home here. Where are you in or are you out?
I'm in.
You are.
I see Travis Hunter as kind of Walmart Jameson Williams, where I'm not expecting, well, maybe the best way to say it is this. The upside of top 20, I think, is a bit out there. I don't think that's possible because if Travis Hunter is a top 20 receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. is a top 5 wide receiver with wide receiver 1 overall upside.
Yep.
This Jacksonville team is going to be one of the best teams in the AFC, and that's saying something when you have Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go as far to say that. But the main reason why I'm in on Hunter is because this is really just draft theory. I look at some of the names going right after Hunter here. Home leagues. Ted McMillan, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, Jerry Jeudy, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Roma Odunze, Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp. Hunter is one of like 4 names I feel comfortable with in that list. Travis Hunter on best ball, very similar. Roma Odunze goes right after Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Jordan Addison, Deebo Samuel, Jared Jeudy, Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall. Like Travis Hunter really is kind of at the end of a tier for me when it comes to these receivers. And I think it's fine to just look at it like that. I feel like it's going to hurt people's brains if they try to galaxy brain or try to predict exactly what it's going to look like for Travis Hunter. And people are therefore bypassing or overlooking just the simple draft theory of like Travis Hunter is kind of one of very few names in this range of wide receiver that you would feel comfortable taking because you know the talent of Travis Hunter.
That's when it comes down to for me. It's like, why are we trying to galaxy brain something that the Jaguars don't even have solved right now? Like we can't even try to make a guess on anything when the Jaguars are still trying to figure out what does the Travis Hunter usage look like. And if come closer to regular season, the Jaguars are saying, actually, you know what? He's going to be like an 80% defensive side of the ball player and only 20% on offense. Opinions change. Like I'm leaving room for my opinion to be changed, but man, at wide receiver 32 and where he's going in your home leagues, this is just like, yeah, I'm going to bet on the upside here. I just think Travis Hunter is way too good of a player, and the investment into him by the Jaguars is too good to be denied. That's where I'm sitting on that. So a yes from me, a no from Cam, and a yes from Ty. We're going to close out two positions that are not the wide receiver or running back. We're going to start at the quarterback position. Baker Mayfield. A lot of people might not think of him as a risky pick, but I just want to name a 7.5% touchdown rate last year. You lose Liam Cohen. You now have Chris Godwin coming off of an injury, and it's kind of bad vibes around the Chris Godwin injury right now. But you also bring in Emeka Egbuka with their first round pick this year in the NFL draft. Could things still pan out right for Baker Mayfield? Sure. I'm expecting regression here. There's just a lot of other quarterbacks I like later. For me, the risk to invest in Baker Mayfield as the quarterback 7 in drafts right now, the benefit there just is not worth it to me. It's not that I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to be bad this year, but am I going to be surprised when he actually ends up as a quarterback 15 and there's like 7 of the quarterbacks going after him that finish ahead of him? No, I'm not at all. So for me, it's not even a dislike of Baker Mayfield or a dislike of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Not to mention Tristan Wirfs is going to miss a handful of weeks to start the year as well. That has to mean something. Just not worth the plunge here for me at quarterback 7. Cameron, I'll start with you. Where are you at?
Yeah, it's just, do I think he's going to throw 40 touchdowns? No. Do I think he's even going to throw 30 touchdowns? I'm going to bet against that, right? That's just like 28 touchdowns is a good season. It's a really good season. It's just
very acceptable season for a quarterback.
100%. He also had 330 some rushing yards last year after not having over 200 any season before. So if both of those come down, all of a sudden we're looking at, hey, he could be giving back essentially 50 fantasy points. And then it's like you're taking him at the beginning of this next tier when he should be going closer to the end of this next year. And really, it just for me comes down to everybody you can get after him. Like all these other quarterbacks you can get after him. It's just, we've talked about just this giant tier quarterback so often. And that's what it comes to, is why would I take the guy who's at the beginning of the tier when I think guys going 4, 5, 6 rounds later could outperform him? It reminds me of CJ Stroud last year.
Yep.
Justin Herbert the year before. These are guys who just aren't consistent enough with their ground game, where if the touchdowns, if the yards regress, you're going to really feel the pain, right? You're going to really feel that it hurts because, he could come out and he could put up, if he puts up a Geno Smith season from last year, 4,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, right? That's in the range of outcomes for Baker Mayfield. You're really feeling hurt here, taking him this high. So that's my issue with Baker. So I am currently out his ADP.
Yeah, the other thing we need to acknowledge with Baker, he was going as a quarterback 22 in drafts last year. That's a phenomenal season. And now we just skyrocket him up to quarterback 7 with like little to no room for error. That's the problem I have with this. Ty, are you in the same boat?
I am. I do find it interesting. The guy was the quarterback 3 or tied for the quarterback 3 in points per game last year. And so us taking him at quarterback 7, maybe baking in some of that risk that we're not going to get a top 5 quarterback. But that being said, outside of the top 4 guys, it is really kind of a dart throw as to who's going to be the later round quarterback that jumps up into the top 7. It could be anyone. Could it be Baker? Yes, it could be. I personally I wouldn't bet on that. That's why I'm going to say I'm out on the risk of Baker. But Baker's another one of these guys where it's not like complete avoid. It's like if Baker was closer to 10, if he was going at the quarterback 10, I would be more in on Baker. But it's still this top 7 price tag that you're paying that comes with the expectation of being a top 7 guy that I'm not exactly sure that we're going to get this year.
And that's what it comes down to. It's not even that I think Baker Mayfield's going to fall on his face this year.
No.
It's just what the touchdown percentage is just going to regress. It's undeniable. He's going to be closer to 4% this year, 4.5% this year. And we're just going to have to accept that. And that just comes with consequences. And I just think that takes him lower than the quarterback 7. So we are all in alignment there. Go for it, Cameron.
The last thing I'll add, 2023, He had a good season. 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, at another score on the ground. Quarterback 18 in points per game. Right. It just needs to be a phenomenal year for him to finish where he's at. 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns is fantastic for Baker in this offense to not, if they, as a regression point. So, yeah, it's just that's the issue when you don't have 500-600 yards on the ground every single year to kind of boost up those stats.
It just wouldn't surprise me if Baker Mayfield and a guy like, again, the Dak Prescott, the Drake May, the Jordan Loves, the Justin Herberts, the Trevor Lawrences, if Baker were to flip spots with any one of those guys in drafts right now, and they finish as this top 8 guy instead. Let's wrap it out, fellas. For this pick, we'll go down the board here. Tyler Warren, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. And the reason why we're labeling this as a risk, look, because it's the Colts offense. Anthony Richardson, according to beat reporters as of right now, has looked better than Daniel Jones in training camp, which is kind of like bad news for all the receiving weapons on this team. And I think the thing that I find fascinating is Tyler Warren is being drafted earlier than Brock Bowers was last year. Brock Bowers is going as a tight end 10 in your home leagues. Tyler Warren is going as a tight end 9 currently, and going ahead of a guy like David Njoku, who, yes, also in a terrible offense, but has been the tight end 5 and tight end 7 in points per game the last 2 years. Tucker Kraft, proven top 10 guy last year in a better offense. So is Tyler Warren at tight end 9 worth the risk here despite the draft capital the Colts spent on him, Ty?
Oh, man, I really struggle with this one because
this is my second place for fence sitting.
Same here. Because I think for Tyler Warren, I'll start off with this. I think I'm out. And I want to emphasize the I think, because I'm not really even sure I'm totally convinced on Tyler Warren just yet. There's 2 paths for Tyler Warren, I think, to return this kind of top 10 price tag. Either we're going to get a lot of touchdowns, or he's going to be a monster in the volume department. And let's go down the target avenue real quick. You've got Josh Downs fans. You've got Michael Pittman fans. Like, I'm not exactly sure where, like, I'm not going to go back to like previous years and say like, well, they don't target tight ends. That's lazy because you're not going to target Drew Ogletree and Kylie Granson and Mo Ollie Cox, right? Like, you do have a substantially better talent now with Tyler Warren at tight end. So this is a very similar situation to Detroit in the sense that like everyone is trying, like, or actually it's kind of the flip side. Everyone's pushing up the player saying like, hey, you know what? Like, I really like Tyler Warren, really like Pittman, really like Josh Downs.
It's Jonathan Taylor's year.
It's Jonathan Taylor's year. But in order for all that to happen, and if that all happens, similar to Jacksonville, then Indianapolis is going to be one of the best teams in the AFC South. And I don't see that path forward. I don't see that exactly playing out like that. So I think for the price at tight end 9, I'm out.
We've seen some wildcat formation stuff with Tyler Warren too at Penn State. Shane Steichen get a little bit creative. Use Tyler Warren on the goal line a little. He better if he's smart and you spend the draft capital on Tyler Warren. You better. And to me, instead of when you lose pieces along the interior of the offensive line when they were hot commodities in the NFL draft this year, and you instead say, no, we need a weapon in Tyler Warren. To me, that's like, Shane, you better utilize this guy, which is why I lean more on the in part, because I think what the draft capital indicates to me is that, hey, we can live without Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. We'll figure it out. We'll bring in some in-house replacements. We'll gel these guys together, but we got to get a better playmaker, a more dynamic playmaker than what we have between Josh Downs and Michael Pittman in the receiving game. So yeah, I'm okay with Tyler Warren here. I don't know how much room there is to go up, but at the same time, I think he gives you enough creativity and ways out within the offense, the ways in which Shane Steichen can utilize him, that I'm kind of like, yeah, would I rather take a Rashad Bateman, a Zach Charbonnet, or Luther Burden? No, not really. I think I'm just fine taking Tyler Warren. I don't know where you're at, Cameron, but I'm going to lean in for that reason.
I'm out. I really am.
Okay.
And it comes down to, the Colts were already 7th lowest in pass attempts last season. Michael Pittman's going to be healthy, right? I've been telling you all season long, he's going to be a top 25 wide receiver. You don't want to hear it. No, he might not be that high, but I do think him and Josh Downs are decent enough targets Where for a rookie tight end, in order to be valuable at the tight end 9, I do think he has to outperform those two. Because I understand, you should use him. If it's Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor back there,
that's also the part that scares me.
How often are you really going to throw another guy in the mix? I understand you want to preserve Anthony Richardson, but he's also 6'4", 240 pounds, and is going to run past and run over everybody. Jonathan Taylor is a top 5 and running back talent in the league. So it's like, I understand you're going to want to use him. I know they're already saying, hey, they're trying to use him at fullback and stuff. But it's not like, the Saints with Taysom Hill, because Kamara wasn't really a true goal line guy. Jonathan Taylor's a goal line back, right? I mean, he's a big guy. Anthony Richardson's a goal line quarterback. So that's where my concern comes there, is I think they're going to try some things, but I don't know if they truly even have an identity as a team yet, because they're still figuring out the whole quarterback situation. They're still figuring out, like, do we run with Jonathan Taylor? Do we run with our quarterback? Who do we even throw to? Who's our pass? So like, there's just so much going on that as a rookie tight end, I'm going to bet that he's not another Brock Bowers-esque of like Sam Laporta. Like, he's ready to go year one. It's more traditional rookie tight end on a team that I don't think is going to score a ton of touchdowns and is just going to have some kind of turmoil all year long at the quarterback position.
And that's the perfect counterpoint. Like, because I can't disagree with anything that you threw out there. It's the two different ways in which you look at this offense. And, I could wake up tomorrow morning and actually decide I'm probably leaning more towards out on Tyler Warren as well. He's one where, again, he and Breece are the two I would really fence it on, because I really don't know which way I fall on either of them. But we'll put a pin in on it there. We want to hear your thoughts, though. Are you in? Are you willing to take the plunge on these players, or are you potentially passing on the risk that they provide this year? Let us know down in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell as well, so you know when all of our newest content is out. We are going up to 3 episodes a week, 3 shows a week next week. So even more content for you as we ramp up closer to the fantasy football season. I believe we're going to start getting into specific platforms as well. Yes, we're going to start getting into different values on Yahoo, different values on ESPN, different values on Sleeper, and a bunch of other fun topics as well. So make sure you're along for the ride there. You can follow us on our socials, FFFellas on Twitter, the FFFellas on Instagram, Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook and TikTok. If you're here on YouTube exclusively, hey, I get it. Fantasy Football Fellas shorts over there if you want more exclusive content. I'm at Lucas Wenzel on X, Tyler_Plath for Ty, Camlaw FFF for Cameron. I don't know why I reversed you two today. It's just the way it rolled off the tongue. Hate to see it, Cameron. Bad day to be third in the lineup.
He's getting demoted.
Demoted. That's what you get for missing all of last week and just being out of range of service when we need to do the most.
Unreal.
Sucks to suck, dude. Thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. We'll see you next week. Deuces.
Deuces.